much, Morgan, and to all of our student tour guides and our panelists. You all have been fantastic today. So Sal and I are here to speak with you a little bit more about what the college application process looks like and what to expect. We know that in this period of online learning and virtual learning, there's a lot of questions and just a little anxiousness out there. So we wanted to take the time to just go through the college application process and explain it a little bit more in depth and hopefully answer some of your questions. Now this presentation isn't all about PACE, it's more about college applications, and we'll talk about PACE, but we're hoping that this can help provide you some more information. So as Morgan said, my name is Jacqueline Hall. I'm the Associate Director of Undergraduate Admission on the New York City campus. I've been in college admissions for about 10 years, and I've worked for 4 different universities or colleges. And I'd like to introduce my wonderful colleague, Sal Loja.
Hi everyone, my name is Salvatore Loja. I'm the Associate Director on PACE's Westchester campus. If you are going to high school in Westchester or Rockland counties, I'm your admissions counselor and here to walk you through your application process. I've been working in admissions for about 9 years across 4 different universities.
All right, great. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, Sal, would you like to talk a little bit about the agenda for today?
Of course. So we know that the college application process can seem a little daunting. So what Jackie and I want to do is break this long, daunting process down into individual components in order to help students not feel so overwhelmed, and also how to identify what they should be doing during each component. So the first component is really what today serves. It's looking at what colleges you may be interested in, seeing what you want to get from your college experience, and making a list of schools that you want to submit your application to, which is the next component, the application process. So we're going to be discussing how do you actually apply and how are you going to be evaluated throughout the review process. Next component is after you've received your decisions, you've received your financial aid, going back and thinking about what you want to get out of your college experience and how to make your decision about what school you're going to be attending for the next upcoming years and calling that college your home. And throughout that process, discussing what resources are available to you, whether they be your admissions counselor or your school counselor, to make sure that you don't get lost along the way.
All right, so let's talk about that first step in the process, which is searching. So you all are already ahead of the game by attending our summer visit day today. And so searching is really coming up with that list of colleges that you're applying to. So a lot of that process is doing introspection about what you want out of your college experience. So would you like to attend a college that's more urban or suburban or rural? Would you like to go to a large school or small school? If you have a major in mind, does that college or university offer your major? Other questions you really should be asking yourself as well are questions about academics. So what are the college and university's average GPA, average SAT, average ACT? Are they test optional? And by asking questions like that, you can compare those averages to what your GPA is and what your test scores are to see if you would be a good academic fit for the university, or if that school might be a safety school or a reach school. What you should also be asking yourself right now is about financial fit. So throughout every part of the process, you really need to be having open and honest conversations with your families or your caregivers or friends that might be helping you through the application process about financially what you can afford to put towards your college tuition, because that will be a big question later on in the process, and you want to be sure that you are having those questions as soon as possible so that when you build that list, you have colleges that can both support you academically, that can help you thrive socially, but can also be a good fit for you financially. What I also do want to mention before we head on to the next slide is visiting virtually. So we know that This is a very different format. We would love to be welcoming you on campus, but due to virtual learning, we are welcoming you virtually. So as you're looking at that college list, go on their website, see if they're offering tours, virtual opportunities to meet with counselors, but that should also be a part of your search process.
Okay, so now you have the list of schools that you feel like would be a good fit for you, that you want to attend, that have the majors, that have the location that you want. So the next step is to apply to those schools. So we're going to be discussing really two forms of applying to college. The first being the common application. And you may have heard about the common application from your school counselor, but what the common application is, it's a lengthy application that can be sent to over 700 different colleges and universities. So on average, students would say, I would say, take around 60 to 90 minutes to complete their actual application on the Common App, as it asks a lot of detailed questions. It asks for your biographical and demographical information, your family information, your family's educational background, what high school courses you've taken, any APs, any honors, any dual enrollment courses, as well as school supplemental information. So for PACE, that can be questions like, do you have a sibling applying? Do you have a family member who currently attends or has attended? Are you looking to live on campus or off campus? So the common application is great because it allows for students to input a lot of information and be sent to a multitude of different schools. Another way to apply is by using a school-specific application. For instance, the PACE application. So these school applications are often much shorter. They can take around between 15 and 30 minutes to complete, and they're really asking questions that are really only relevant to that school. So although it's shorter, it can only be sent to that school. So for example, if you're filling out the PACE application, that application would only go towards admission for PACE University. Often, as counselors, we're asked if we prefer one application over the other, and we typically don't have a preference if students use the common application or our school-specific application, really just that you apply and that you apply by the deadline.
Right, so when are those deadlines? There are a lot of different deadlines that you have to be aware of when you are creating your list and you end up deciding where you would like to apply for college. So at Pace University, we offer early decision, early action, regular decision, and then we also have program-specific deadlines. Now at other colleges and universities, these could be very similar, they could be the same, they could be very different. Other types of ways to apply to the university, or not to PACE, but to other colleges and universities, include plans like restrictive early action or rolling admission, which we included on our slide, which we don't offer at PACE, but that's an example of what you might encounter at other colleges on your list. So these deadlines can be very hard deadlines, right? So you want to be sure that you're staying organized and that you know if I'm applying early decision to PACE, I need to be submitting my application on time so that you can get your decision on time and be able to be considered for that early decision plan. Now, one of the things that Sal and I wanted to point out is the differences between all of these plans. So early decision is for students who are bleeding blue and yellow. They love blue and yellow. They only can see themselves at PACE. You are committed to attending if you are accepted early decision. So binding means that by applying to a school early decision, you are agreeing to enroll if you are admitted. So if you are accepted early decision, you must contact any other colleges you apply to and withdraw your applications. Now the other plans are not binding. So early decision is for, or early action is for students who really love PACE. They get to want to know their academic decision a little bit earlier, but they want to have the option to explore other schools as a part of their list. So if you are really excited about PACE and you want to apply early action, we really, really welcome that because you do get to know your decision a little bit earlier without that binding agreement. And then of course there's regular decision. Now these program-specific deadlines are essential. So if you have a major in mind, so for example, like performing arts, For PACE, our performing arts deadline is very strict. So for us, it's December 15th. If you apply on December 16th, we will not be accepting your application for performing arts, and you would have to choose another major. So that's why it's really important to keep track of these deadlines to make sure that you are staying on track to apply for and be considered for the majors that you're really interested in at PACE and at other schools and universities.
So you apply to schools that you're interested in, and the next step is to get evaluated. So at PACE, we practice what's called the holistic application review, which means we look at every aspect of your application, starting with the application itself, through the essay, letters of rec, extracurriculars, and your academic achievements. And we review every application individually, 1, 2, sometimes 3 times. So every application is read by a counselor. And we often start with your college essay. Your college essay really is your chance for us to get to know you better, for you to share your story that is not obvious throughout your transcript or any other piece of your application materials. And I know that this can often be seen as the most overwhelming or nerve-wracking part, so I want to share just a few tips on how to write your college essay. So first and foremost really is use your own voice and tell your own story. Don't write about something that you think that will impress us, that you're not passionate about. We found that the best essays come from a part of an area of passion, and when students are using their own voice, their own vocabulary. So don't try to impress us with words that you may not use on a daily basis. It doesn't come across as authentic. Checking your spelling and grammar. So some tips for that is once you proofread your essay, read it out loud to yourself. You'll catch a lot more grammar issues. Write your application on a laptop and not an iPhone. Spell check is a wonderful tool. We use it as professionals, but sometimes the iPhones and the Androids won't catch some spelling errors or auto-correct it to something.
It looks like we may have lost Sal, which is okay. So I'll continue with his slide. As he was saying, so when you're writing your essay, we really encourage you to look at and write your essay on a laptop or on a desktop computer. If you're writing it on your phone to begin with, that's okay, but autocorrect, as Sal was just about to say, is your best friend and your worst enemy. I love autocorrect, but if it's correcting a word that's technically spelled the right way, it won't pick on that as incorrect. So feel free to do that first draft on your phone, but please reread it and make sure that you're looking at it on a desktop or laptop so you can catch those mistakes. So your extracurricular activities. In addition to your essay, this is another part of your application where we really get to know you as a student outside of your transcript. We understand that your extracurricular activities may and probably were impacted when you all went virtual. And so what PACE does is we read your application holistically. So we understand that some extracurricular activities or perhaps your high school curriculum were impacted when we moved virtual, and that's okay. We'll work with you and we understand that. What you can do though, when you're creating your extracurricular activity section, is be creative and make sure that you're including things that you did throughout your high school career, not even just in school sanctioned programs, but you can also look at things like, have you been supporting a sibling with making sure they're getting their tutoring and classes done during this period of online learning? Are you helping with a family member? Do you have a part-time job? So do you work 20 hours per week? Those are things that may not be through your high school, but are equally as important to include in your extracurricular activities section because they show leadership and they show the qualities that we would love to have represented in our PACE community. So your letters of recommendation. These are obviously letters that your teachers or your community members are writing on your behalf to help help us get to know you a little bit better. So these are just some do's and don'ts when thinking about your letters of recommendation. So for us, for admission counselors, when we're reading applications, I think the best piece of advice that we can give you would be to make sure that you're abiding by what's required. So if we ask for 1 to 3 letters of recommendation, please send 1 to 3 letters of recommendation. Please don't send 10 or 15 letters of recommendation. And when you're asking your teachers to write letters of recommendation for you, be sure that you're smart about who you're asking. So for example, if you are interested in a pre-med program, it might be good for you to ask a biology, a math, or even an AP Psych teacher to write you a letter of recommendation so that you can show your college or university that you've done the exploration of that career path. Or perhaps, maybe if you're looking at your transcript and you really struggled in 9th grade in math, but you've really put a lot of work into making sure that you can improve your math classes and improve in your math ability, you might actually want to ask your 11th grade math teacher. If you've really improved from 9th to 11th grade in a certain area, that might be a teacher that you ask to write a letter of recommendation, because that teacher can really write to how you've improved and how you've used those resources. Another thing that's important is to abide by the deadlines that your high school puts out there. So some high school counselors and college counselors will ask you to submit requests for letters of recommendation by a certain date. It's really important that you abide by those dates and pay attention to what your high school is asking of you. You do not want to request a letter of recommendation the day before it's due, because chances are you're not going to get it and you're not going to meet the deadline potentially. So planning ahead and making sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted are really important in this regard. Okay, so a little bit about your high school transcript. This is like the last big piece of the application, in addition to your standardized test scores. So your high school transcript and standardized test scores are academically the bulk of what we'll see. As I was saying earlier in regards to extracurricular activities, we also know that high school curriculums and high school classes may have been impacted with moving virtual. So one of the things that high schools do for admissions offices is that when they submit your transcript, they send us something called a school profile. And that school profile teaches us all about your high school curriculum, so that when we look at your high school transcript, we're looking at your high school transcript within the context of the curriculum that you're attending. So I work with students from Brooklyn and Manhattan, and a really good example of this is, when I'm reading an application from Brooklyn Tech, I'm familiar with Brooklyn Tech High School's curriculum versus a high school, Harlem Village Academy. Their curriculum is different than Brooklyn Tech. Harlem Village Academy, they send me a school profile so that when I read applications from that high school, I know what's available to those students. So we have the context of what's provided to you, and we read your application within that context. When we look at transcripts, we look at your overall GPA, weighted or unweighted. We look at the types of classes that you've taken. So have you taken honors, AP, IB? The school profile will also tell us if your school offers honors, AP, and IB, so we'll look at it within the context of your high school. We'll look at trend, so whether you have an upward trend or a downward trend, or whether you've stayed steady. And then we'll consider your rank if the high school provides that. And we won't hold it against you if your high school does not provide rank in your transcript. We will look at it only if it's provided. Program specific. There are some programs that do require classes at the high school level. For Pace University, an example of that is our nursing program, which is only offered on our Pleasantville campus. But we do, for our nursing program, require biology or living environment and chemistry classes in high school. So if you have a major in mind, especially those in the sciences or STEM, it's important to look at, are the colleges or universities on your list, do they require certain math or science classes that you've taken in high school or not? And that can even help you narrow down your list even further. And on that note, I'll pass it back to Sal to talk about standardized test scores.
Thanks, Jackie. So the next part of your academic information is standardized test scores. So this would either be the SAT or the ACT. So if you're unaware what the difference is, the SAT tests students on reading, writing and language, and math, whereas the ACT tests students on reading, English, math, and science. PACE's average SAT score is an 1146, and our average ACT score is a 24. Very similarly to questions we get about what type of application, if we prefer one or the other, we don't. So if you feel more confident with the SAT versus the ACT, you can choose to submit whatever scores you would like, or submit all the scores that you've taken. You may have heard the term superscore before, and what superscoring means is that we will consider the highest score possible. So if you've taken, let's say, the SAT twice, and you scored higher on the math section one time and higher on the English section the second time, we will take the highest of both exams and add them together. As admissions, we're always looking to give the student the best possible chance, so we want to give you your highest scores. Another type of exam is the SAT-2s, or the SAT subject tests. Now, Pace University does not require the SAT-2s, so as you're looking through your list of schools to apply to, I would recommend checking their website to see if any of them do require the SAT-2s, whether for general admissions or for a specific major. The SAT subject tests focus on either English, history, math, science, or foreign language. Now, Pace University is a test optional college. We went test optional for our fall 2020 school, so we're in our second cycle. So if you feel that your test scores do not reflect your academic ability, it's okay. You can choose not to submit them. If you're unsure really what that means, best rule of thumb is looking at the average scores that Pace advertises, and if you're around there, you're a little bit higher, you're a little bit lower, and you feel you want to submit your test scores, you can. If you're, again, uncertain, that's where your relationship with your admission counselor comes into play. You can always ask them for their recommendation. Now, we understand that there has been some challenges with sitting for the exams. So if you have not been able to take the SAT or ACT, and you feel that your GPA, your extracurriculars, your essay, and your letters of rec are strong, you can choose to submit them as test optional. Students are still able to receive merit scholarships. You're still able to receive admission into our honors college. And we are still reevaluating some of our other programs like nursing or the combined business programs to see how we can work test optional for those as well. But again, your test scores are just your numbers. We really look at your high school transcript, as we feel that the last 4 years is going to show us how well you're going to do the next 4 years.
All right, so you've requested your letters of recommendation, you've sat for the SAT or ACT, or you didn't, that's okay too. You've written your essay, and now what? So depending on what program you're interested in, you should also consider what additional information you need to submit. So for Pace University, what that would mean is that if you're interested in the performing or visual arts, there is additional information that you need to submit in order to be considered for that program. And again, if you do not submit them, you would not be considered. So it's really important to take the responsibility to make sure that you check everything off on that list. So for PACE, additional information would mean for the performing arts or visual arts, that pre-screen, and then after the pre-screen, if you pass, we would invite you to audition, or that portfolio for the BFA in art program. Once you've built your college list, you can also look at the top 3 colleges on your list and see if they offer interviews. This isn't specific to the performing arts. This can be any major. I used to work for an institution that didn't require interviews, but really encouraged them. And when we met with students, it was a great opportunity for us to get to know the student a little bit better. And it's an opportunity for the student to get to know us a little bit better, so you can get your questions answered. So once you have that list of schools, look at your top 3, go up on their websites, and if they have opportunities to interview with either an admission counselor or an alumni, I really encourage you to do that for your top schools. There are a lot of ways for you to find your admission counselor. So a lot of the questions that we've been getting is, who do I know who my admission counselor is, or how do I find that on the website? So for PACE, I'm sure one of our admission counselors can drop that in the chat for us. But what you can do is in a Google search, you can put the name of the university and contact my admission counselor. And more often than not, the page will pop up and you'll be able to search for them by state. But each state or each county or city has a designated admission counselor for you to help you through this process. So for your top schools, it would be really great to connect with them.
Okay, so you submitted your application and you waited what feels like a lifetime, and then you get that letter either in the mail or electronically with your decision. So I want to talk about a little bit about the decisions that you could receive from the different colleges, just so everyone understands what they could mean. So the first one is admitted. You know, that's the one that everyone wants. Congratulations, you've been accepted to university. Even with being admitted, you know, read your admissions letter very carefully. Make sure that you are admitted into the program that you applied to, because sometimes for some majors, you may be academically admissible to university, but not the specific program if that specific program requires additional information or additional scoring. Also in your admissions letter, most often will be your scholarship. So you want to understand, you know, was I accepted to university and what does my merit scholarship look like? Another type of decision is being what's called deferred. What deferred means is that your application was reviewed, and during that application process, it was determined by the committee that we would like to see additional information in order to make a decision. Most often, this would be your senior year grades. So you may not be admitted, you know, if you apply early action, we couldn't make a decision for you then. Once your senior year grades come out, your mid-year grades, then we can make a decision often in February once they become available. Another type of decision is waitlisted. So you may have met the academic requirements, however, there's no more space in the university or your program. This often can happen if students apply later. Even if you are waitlisted, schools will look at demonstrated interest in determining on how to move students off the waitlist when spaces become available. And then lastly, the final decision is denied. And obviously we know students don't like to get denied from their colleges. However, we do want students to still reach out to their admissions counselor if that is your dream school, and talk about, you know, maybe why your application wasn't as strong and what are the possibilities of transferring to that college. Pace University is very transfer friendly. So when students are denied, we work really closely with them on, you know, for the next year, what classes you should take so you can still enroll at Pace and graduate within 3 years after applying. So it may not be a no, it may be a not now, but that's what your admissions counselors are here, is to make sure that you understand your decisions.
All right, so a little bit about financial aid. I want to acknowledge that this part of the presentation could be an entire presentation in and of itself. So throughout the fall, we are going to have webinars specifically for financial aid to help you answer your questions. But this presentation for now is just going to focus on, generally speaking, what you should be doing today in order to make sure that you're prepared for October and November for when you start receiving your admission decisions back. So just like the academic application, it's really important that you stay organized. So there's a few different financial aid applications that you have to be aware of. One is a scholarship application. Now for Pace University, we do not have a separate application for merit scholarships. When you apply to Pace, you are automatically considered for merit scholarship. However, that's not always the case for other colleges and universities. Sometimes the Common App or the university application is the academics, and then they require a separate application for merit. So that's a really important question to ask. There is also the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. There's the CSS profile, and then there's the verification process. At Pace, we only require the FAFSA out of this list. We do not require the scholarship application, and we do not require a CSS profile. Verification is a process that will happen later on. And verification means that if you submit the FAFSA, the federal government may ask you to submit additional paperwork, like to confirm your parent income or to confirm, student income. So it's really important to have all of your financial documents in one folder to keep yourself organized in that regard. The first day to file your FAFSA is October 1st. So that will be open in early October. What you can also do right now is to stay prepared. So even though the FAFSA is not open yet, what you can do is use a net price calculator. So a net price calculator is a way for you to get an estimate of your financial aid package. Every college university is required to have a net price calculator on their website. So if you search Pace University net price calculator, it will bring you to that page and you'll be able to use it. What I really like about Pace is, in addition to the net price calculator, we also have a merit scholarship estimator. So you can put in your academic information and it will let you know roughly what kind of scholarship you could be eligible for if you're admitted to the university. So by using the net price calculator and the merit scholarship calculator, you can have an idea of what to expect when you get your financial aid package. So if you're accepted to Pace, you would submit your FAFSA, and then usually we start submitting FAFSAs out to families in early in the new year. But you'll be able to review that, and we'll have additional webinars to help walk you through and answer any questions that you may have. And then of course, it's important to stay active and feel comfortable asking questions, both of you and your families, but also of the colleges and universities. So we are here to help you through the process, and we are here to help you navigate the financial aid process as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions.
Okay, so now you're at the final step. You decided what schools to apply to, you submitted your applications, you went through the evaluation process, and you got your decisions back. So now really it's all on you on making your decision. So we want you to go back and we want you to think about what you were looking to get out of your college experience and what were your experiences during your virtual or later on campus visits. So you're looking at what schools do I like, what schools were I accepted to, what schools are within my family budget, and you start narrowing it down. So you may have had 20 schools on your list of schools to apply to. Let's say you got accepted to all of them because you're rock stars. 10 are within your family's budget, but you're really only looking at 5 that are your top choices. So we encourage you to come back and take another, either a virtual presentation or an on-campus opportunity to engage with us on social media, to talk with your admissions counselor, or talk to our tour guides or other current students, and engage with faculty. Colleges offer a lot of visit experiences, so it may be a personalized campus tour, it may be a large PACE-bound event or accept student event, it may be a day in the life of a student event. Do your research and decide for you what college is best for you. We strongly encourage May 1, the National College Decision Day, for you to let us know that you are going to be a PACE setter next year. It's going to be a tough decision, but it's going to be a good decision, and you want to make sure that you end up at the college that is going to give you the best college experience. And from today, PACE offers a lot, and we're here to help you with your application process.
All right, on that note, thank you all for attending our presentation. If you have questions, here's our general contact information. Feel free to drop them in the chat as well, and we can follow up with you.